Hey everyone, more non-dynamics content today. This is simply a follow-up to my webcam showdown video where we are going to do a microphone showdown video. And the reason that I talk about webcams and microphones so much is because if you are frequently a presenter, such as I am, or you find yourself on a lot of conference calls, looking and sounding your best is extremely important. In an office, in a physical meeting, you can show up in nice attire, give a firm handshake, look someone in the eye, and they will understand your presence. They will understand how you look, how you represent yourself, and how you sound. You don't have that option as much anymore. And so I think that showing up in a well lit space with a quality and easy to understand voice is extremely important in this virtual world. I have recorded multiple microphones and I have not really listened to any of that. So we'll have a chance to hear that all roughly about the same time. I have microphones ranging in the price range of, I don't know, anywhere from 30 to 50 to 200 to $250. So we should be able to cover a pretty good spectrum of microphones. Just a quick spoiler before we get started. I did not include my normal microphone here as part of the review. Uh, there would have been a lot of bias there personally, but also we know it's my favorite because it's the one I use. And if you're curious what that one is, it is the Audio Technica AT 2020 USB X. So it's just an iteration on Audio Technica's very classic AT 2020 microphone. The reason I chose this one is because it has a USB-C connection. I can do live monitoring via headphones on here. So those are two very important things. Additionally, I do have a capacitive mute button, so I can tap to mute this mic. You can't see it because my windscreen is on here, but if I tap to mute it, it will turn the normally blue light in here to red. I also have physical knobs on here to be able to sort of slide between my audio mix as well as sort of headphone monitoring volume. Uh, those were all very important to me. It does not have a polar pattern selector. I do not find that necessary in a mic that I'm just going to be positioning myself in front of and talking. We will get into the conclusion as well as some other tips and tricks to make sure that you sound your best as soon as this finishes uploading. So hang around. Before I show you the clips, I want to give you a few criteria that I use to evaluate and judge. First, I did not use the companion software that is provided or available for any of the mics that do have the option for companion software. That can greatly change the outcome, but I wanted this to be as much of a plug and play comparison as possible. That also meant not tweaking or altering anything in the operating system when these microphones were connected. This is really geared towards those of you who are just curious, and most of you are going to plug the mic in, make sure it sounds okay, and go on your merry way, and you're not going to spend a lot of time tweaking. So I wanted that to be fair and objective as well. And third, a lot of the microphones do have built-in bases, so you can sit them on your desk. However, I recommend under no circumstances do you ever use the included base on your microphone and sit it on your desk. You are setting yourself up for failure in doing that, and we'll talk about that perhaps a little more at the end of the video. But but the reason you'll see me, I guess, holding a lot of the microphones up is because every microphone should be held for optimal sound quality at roughly mouth level and roughly 7 inches or less from your mouth. So I'm holding a lot of the microphones in that video to give them all a fair shot. So let's see how it turned out. So the first of our budget mics is the Blue Snowball Ice, from Blue Technologies, later acquired by Logitech. I think they make interesting spherical variant of this mic once again, but this is the old version. It comes in at a pretty fair price point. However, it does have a couple of criticisms. First criticism, of course, is the aesthetic. Not everyone likes this sort of spherical round mic. It's not really the best looking on camera, especially compared to some traditional microphones. Other downside for me is that it actually comes with mini USB here on the back, not micro USB and not USB-C, which kind of shows off the age of this microphone a little bit. It does have this tripod stand, so you can actually mount this or put it on a desk. But like with the other mics, you'll see me testing again. I'm trying to hold them at an appropriate distance away from my mouth to really give them the best opportunity. However, as you can hear, if I put this mic at my desk, even if I angle it towards me a little bit, the audio quality probably suffers a little bit, and you'd really have to look at turning up mic gain or something like that in order to compensate for that. So let's move on to the next mic. The next mic in our budget section here is actually the SoloCast from HyperX. So this is honestly a much newer mic. I anticipate this sounding at least slightly better than the Blue Snowball Ice. We start to get some additional features here. Once again, it does come with this super rinky-dink stand. It's going to make it sound quite bad when you place it far away from your actual mouth, I suspect. So I'm going to pick it up and again give it its best shot by giving it an appropriate sort of height and distance away from my mouth. This mic has USB-C as a connection. So again, huge advantage as USB-C becomes more prevalent in your phones and a lot of your other peripherals. So you can just pick up any spare USB-C cable and get this thing working. It also has a tap to mute feature. Just kidding. I know. I muted the mic just for fun, just to kind of show that feature off. It also does have a tripod adapter or a way to mount this mic, so you are not stuck with just the little stand it comes with. You can, of course, mount it to whatever is a little more convenient. It's kind of tiny, I get that. So it may be once again more unattractive on camera for some people who are really looking to show off or profile their microphone, but there's also a sort of benefit in the subtlety to something of this size, and at least it looks and is shaped like a regular microphone, as opposed to the Blue Snowball Ice. So we'll see how this pans out, and let's keep cruising through our list. Moving up just slightly budget wise, I've actually moved into something that I think could be a dark horse contender in this race for a microphone. So, this is actually the Zoom H1N microphone, well, technically audio recorder. And the reason I find this to be kind of interesting is because it can be used as I'm using it now on both iOS as well as Windows as a microphone. However, if you detach this, it becomes its own standalone audio recorder. So if you find yourself in a career field or in a place where you want to be able to use a digital audio recorder for recording meeting notes or your own thoughts, then this could be a good solution for you. This has a micro USB, so again, not as good as USB-C, and it has a quarter-inch tripod adapter. I think the others are much larger. I can't remember, 3/8 inch or something. I'll put it in the video description when we get there. So this would use a much more modest style tripod connection. Again, can do double duty as both a notes or voice recorder as well as a microphone interface. Really small, as you can see here. Thinner and lighter than even our budget mics, so it can be easy to tote around. I actually have a kind of a little small case here, so if I travel for work personally, I might bring a microphone like this along because it can perform double duties and it doesn't take a huge amount of space in my bag. And if I want to use an external mic while I'm out meeting somewhere in a hotel room or conference room on the road or whatever, I still have the ability to do that. So I guess we'll see how this one sounds at the end, right? Another mic that we have here in our mid-range segment is the Yeti Nano. And I do like this mic for the price point. It's got a couple of features. So we've stepped out of sort of the entry level, lower cost, pretty remedial features. And we're moving into some microphones that have some real features, some real quality of life improvements that you may like. Once again, unfortunately comes with a pretty remedial stand. So you would probably want to get them out. I'm going to say that a million times. Get them out for your microphone. If you don't, you're just going to be picking up desk noise, or you have to turn up the gain. high enough to get a good audio quality uh, for how far your mouth is from the microphone. But getting into the specs itself, it does have just regular micro USB. I do kind of hate that, but it really is an indicator of the age, the overall age of this series of microphone. But we do have a polar pattern selector on the back, so you can select between cardioid, which you should be using most of the time, or omnidirectional in case you wanted to capture sound from 360 degrees around the microphone. On the front, we have a physical mute button, which can be beneficial. As you saw, it's green when you're recording and red when you are muted. On the bottom of the microphone, we also have a adapter to be able to mount this in a couple of ways. It will support a 1/4 inch mount. It will also support that 3/8 inch. Again, I think that's what it is, connection. However, this is quite a heavy mic. It's pretty solidly made, so some 1/4 inch mounts may not support the weight of a microphone like this. You also have a headphone jack on the bottom, so in case you want to be able to hear what you sound like live, you can do that. And the physical mute button on the front of the microphone also serves as a volume knob, so I can actually adjust the volume, which would be beneficial if I was listening in through my headphones. Maybe I sound really loud and want to turn myself down in my ears. So you have the ability to do that on this mic, and I think we'll see a lot more features coming up on some of the mics going forward. The next microphone on our list is one you might find in a more professional office setting for someone who has or has a need for an external microphone. So this is the B20 from EPOS. I put this in the mid-range category because honestly, the cost on this online varies wildly. Right now, I'm seeing it as low as like $60 on Amazon, whereas some other retailers are charging upwards of $150 for it. So who knows what the true actual price or value of this microphone is. It's got a lot of nice features. However, in its price range, it does have USB-C for a connection, as well as a headphone jack for live monitoring of your audio. Connecting to a mount is done via this funky little mic arm that we have attached to it here. And then there are some features on top of this mic, or on the front and back of this mic, rather, to be aware of. I do have a physical mute button, which, again, pretty common in microphones, really helpful to have. I also have a volume control on the front of the microphone. So if I am listening live through my headphones, I'm not going to blow my eardrums out. Then on the back, you have a couple of additional features, which you probably cannot see or may not be able to see very well. On the back, first thing you have is your 4 sort of polar pattern selector, very similar to the Blue Yeti series of microphones. So there is some versatility here. However, I stand by the fact that most of you are going to set and forget this in a cardioid pattern. And then it has a gain control on the back, which we start to see in some nicer microphones. So this is really nice to help you set the gain on the mic, because you certainly don't want it. If you turn it down too much, you're going to have a hard time being heard no matter where you position the mic. And if you turn it up too high, then you will pick up sounds from all the way across the office. So you really have to sort of fine tune that through trial and error. The downside to the gain knob on this microphone, and I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but it will scroll infinitely. A lot of knobs, you kind of want to be able to have a physical indicator of the gain being turned down all the way and a physical indicator of the gain being turned up all the way. The challenge here is I could spin this thing on the back infinitely. So it makes guessing where you're at with the gain on this mic even more difficult. Sticking in a similar mid-high price point, we have the mic that everyone has and that I love to hate, which is the original Blue Yeti. Let's talk about it. First off, this thing's an absolute behemoth of a microphone, and just holding it in my hands is quite cumbersome. Of course, you can place it on a desk. That probably will lead to your microphone picking up a lot of desk noise, a lot of keyboard noise, and you don't want that. Um, it does have a lot of features, though, and I think that's why a lot of people like it. Starting off, big ding, of course, we're back to mini USB, not micro USB, not USB C. That's just purely showing you the age of this microphone at this point. It does have a physical mute button on the front. It can be slightly counterintuitive. My mute button is lit up red right now, which would normally indicate that a microphone is muted. However, when you press the mute button here, it blinks red, and that is your indicator that you're muted. I also have the ability to live monitor myself through a headphone jack, so I do have a headphone volume control button on the front. On the rear, I have two things, just like the EPOS B20. I have a gain knob. Uh, I have this set from when I used this mic a long time ago, so hopefully it sounds okay. And then again, have my polar pattern selector. My big ding on this mic, of course, is that it is absolutely massive. It's kind of old. It uses an out of date connector type, and you can get so much better and so much smaller of a package for similar or better money now. And that's really why I feel this way about the Blue Yeti. But it's mega common. Don't fall into the trap of this microphone. You're buying into some old technology. Just my opinion. Next on our list is another Yeti microphone. This is the Yeti X. So I always considered this the evolution of the Blue Yeti series, where the Yeti Nano, of course, was an iteration if you wanted something small and had less features, and the Yeti X was something you could move into if you wanted something bigger and wanted to retain all of those features in a different sort of body style, still massive, still sort of carrying that Yeti name. This is a pretty nice mic as well. Again, I just think it's way too big for what it needs to do. It's got a lot of good features. They moved from uh, mini USB to micro USB on here. You still have your headphone jack. You still have the ability to mount this microphone to an arm. Of course, like I said, I recommend doing with any microphone in this series. It's got a button now, a physical button on the back for switching between polar patterns. And on the front, it has sort of an interesting feature here where you have this knob, but it provides multiple functions, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. So it can take a while to get used to. You can tap to mute like you can with a lot of the other microphones, and pressing and holding gives you access to a whole bunch of different features. So this has I have it set by default to manage gain, but you can have it by default set to manage headset volume. You can also manage sort of the blend between the headset and the microphone. So if you are listening live and you don't want to hear as much of your voice in the microphone, then you can do that as well. But again, just so enormous, and I guess it's a statement piece for a microphone. So if you really feel like you need that in your life, then this could be a good contender for a microphone. The highest price mic on our list today is the Shure MV7. This is a step down from Shure's most prolific mic, the SM7B. However, I didn't really want to get into any XLR microphones because I do feel like audio interfaces that are required to operate those types of microphones adds a highly unnecessary expense in the form of an audio interface, as well as just a level of pretentiousness that you who are watching this do not need to have unless you are a full time content creator. So this is about half the price of an SM7B. Honestly, comes in probably around 2 to 250. I haven't checked the price on it recently, but that is what it is. It does have a couple of options here. It's using micro USB on the back, which is okay. I wish it was USB C. It certainly came out in the area where USB C would have been viable. It does have an XLR connection, so I say it's a nice halfway point because if you did want to move into using an audio interface and an XLR cable, that becomes something you can grow into with this microphone. You also have a headset jack on the back for live monitoring. You have this sort of set of capacitive multi touch buttons across the top. You can kind of watch them dance around. Here, as I talk, it does things like gain, again, headset mix, headset volume. You can do all of that from here. The final sort of thing about this mic, and can be a real pro to most people and is really the complete opposite of the way most people feel about the Blue Yeti Snowball Ice microphone is that this uh, is a top address microphone, which means I speak into the very top of it the same way you would speak into, a vocal mic if you were doing karaoke or something like that. Whereas all of the other cardioid mics I've reviewed today have been side address, so you speak to them kind of off to the side like this. This is kind of nice. It allows you to more directionally point your voice and get much better isolated vocals out of a microphone like this. Also, aesthetically, I mean, this thing does look pretty good. Again, you could have it hanging up here and chatting into it like this. I think it would look okay. Um, Whereas some of the other microphones look less okay doing that. So this is the highest priced one in the list, and we'll see how it compares to even the budget mics. So that's the end of our mic test. And I don't know about you, but one thing really stood out to me, and that was that there wasn't really a vastly significant difference between the least expensive microphone on my list and the most expensive microphone on my list. And I think I know why. And I think it has a lot to do with compression. So when you are recording videos in certain video recording applications, or whether you're on a Teams or Zoom call, a lot of your audio is going to be compressed. So what you're looking at is, although you may have this wide spectrum of quality, a lot of that's going to get sort of chopped down, narrowed down, and some of the high highs and low lows are going to get cut out. So the microphones that might have a better dynamic range might not actually reflect that. And that's something important to think about if you were going to be buying a microphone just for work, just for your Teams calls or what have you. And that's because you're going to be able to get away with a lot more, and the big factor in the price point isn't going to be quality at that point. It's just going to be features. So as you saw on our lower end mics, you were lucky to get a tap to mute feature. And then on the higher end mics, you're getting the ability to do live audio mixing between your headphones and the microphone itself, gain control, companion software. And so those are other things that you may want to consider, but certainly aren't going to be necessary to having a quality sounding voice in your next Teams meeting or on your next presentation. There are two other things I want to call out as observations. Like I said, it seems that your quality is going to be pretty similar no matter what you choose within a fair price range, and that your cost is just going to get you more or fewer features. However, you noticed that I did my best to keep all of the mics at an appropriate height and distance from my mouth. And when I did on occasion in these videos rotate the mic slightly or put the mic on its built in stand on the desk, it did significantly change the audio quality. So, once again, it is important for you to get some sort of mounting mechanism for your microphone. There are plenty of cheap boom arms that you can find online. This is a very simple desk stand that I'm using instead. However, you want that because every time you touch your desk, every time you're tapping on your keyboard, you're creating little vibrations on your desk, and your mic can very easily pick those up or translate that to additional unwanted noise. So spend a few extra dollars and also get yourself a mount for your mic. As you see, it has as much to do with audio quality as the price of the microphone itself. The other thing, like I mentioned at the top of the video, was that I didn't use any of the companion software for any of these microphones. And I know, because I own all of those microphones, that the companion software can make a significant difference in the audio quality of those mics. And so the other thing I would say is it seems that a lot of microphone manufacturers may be overly reliant on companion software to help tweak or improve the quality of their microphone. And that comes with pluses and minuses. In the workplace, the huge minus for me is that it always feels like an act of Congress to get a IT division to let me install any unapproved software on my PC. So you may be out of luck if your microphone requires companion software to run flawlessly, which is why, again, I've chosen the Audio Technica mic I have because it is entirely unnecessary. So let's get into some extra little tips and tricks that we can do to make sure we're sounding our best on our calls. So, what are my quick tips and tricks once you get your first USB microphone? First, go ahead and get it plugged in. Make sure that the operating system detects it. Install companion software if you want to, need to, or feel compelled to. And then, third, get that microphone set up at an appropriate height and distance away from you. Once you've done that, if you are using video conferencing software, collaboration tools like Teams or Zoom or what have you, there's almost always a setting just like this for automatically adjust mic sensitivity. And you may want this on or off, and there are different use cases for why. If I have a microphone that's got a physical gain knob like my Blue Yeti, and I spend all of this time dialing in my gain to be perfect, then I don't want the software interfering with that. So I might turn it off. If my microphone does not have a gain knob on it, then I might leave this on. The second thing you want to do is go to your sound settings, and under recording, we're going to start there. We see my microphone here. And if I go to properties, I want to look at two things. First, levels. Levels is the software version of the gain on your microphone. Basically, you jack up this level, it's going to capture every sound from every corner of your room. So you want to make sure that that's kind of in line. And if I was on a call and had this enabled, you would see this slider dynamically adjusting. But the other thing you want to look at here is the default format. And under here, I have my mic set to 24-bit audio because it supports it at 48,000 hertz. You see I could go higher, but all I'm doing is capturing a little more data, but it diminishing returns. To do it that way, I could drop it down and you would clearly hear a remarkable or notable quality difference. So I kind of like where I'm at with 24-bit, 48. And if your mic supports it, you could go all the way up. There's just, again, returns diminish. But that's on the recording side. On the playback side, you want to make sure that whatever you're listening to your microphone or your recorded audio out of, you want to check the properties on that. And you want to, again, go to advanced and make sure that that matches, honestly, because why would you record in a worse rate that you would play back out of, or vice versa? So those are really the keys to getting your software dialed in once you get that USB microphone up. To kind of quickly summarize here, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get started getting better sound quality on your Teams meetings and out of your presentations. You can really start for as little as $30 to $50. The amount of features you get is only going to increase if you do decide to spend more, and you may end up doing that to invest in a mic that's either a little more future proof or something you feel you may grow into more over time if you want to try and use it in other applications. However, we also saw that mic positioning is also very important to the sound quality of your microphone, and making sure that you are using the most appropriate sound settings within your operating system also are going to help you get the most bang for your buck out of your microphone. I hope you learned a little bit today. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.